Hello, teachers. Welcome to Teacher Survival Hacks, TSH. Today, I am on my seventh video segment describing discipline. This is the second part of my discipline series, which is video segment number 7. Go ahead and click the like and subscribe button if you like what I am saying today. Teacher Survival Hacks is a video series designed to help the beginning teacher get ready for their assignment in the fall. It has an emphasis on science, but all teachers are welcome to join and listen to this video series. Whether you're a beginning teacher or a veteran teacher, everyone is welcome. Okay, so I left off on discipline, and I explained some procedures, disciplines procedures that I believe that can help you, and so I am continuing the next segment on discipline, which is our segment number 2 on discipline. So I'm going to begin by saying you should keep your rules very simple. I go over my rules for my class at the beginning of the year during the second day of instruction, not the first day of instruction. Usually the first day of instruction, most teachers have already described their rules and went over all their procedures and whatnot. I normally wait until the second day of instruction, and I keep my rules very simple. My rules are going to be generally what they've learned in the past anyway. Okay? If you are a 7th grade teacher, your students have been in school at least 8 years, starting their 8th year in school. That includes kindergarten. And these rules have not changed very much since their years in early elementary. And what do I mean by that? Well, I normally keep 5 rules. Be respectable, bring your materials to class, be on time. I state them in the positive, okay? Never in the negative. And I only going to spend about a minute or so describing my 5 rules for discipline, okay? Why only 5 rules? Because you want to keep it simple, okay? You don't want any complex procedures that you're going to ask kids to follow, okay? So keep it simple. Remember that you have a varying degree of children in your classroom. A lot of these children are special needs children, and it's hard for them to follow complex rules and procedures. So you want to keep things simple. What I normally do is I go over my routines in class. That's what I usually focus on. What do I mean by routines? I focus on when I want them to place their assignments in the Dropbox, or the place where I'm collecting their graded papers, their papers that they turn in. How I want them to raise their hand to answer a question, when to sharpen the pencil, what to do when you need a tissue, blow your nose and whatnot. These are the procedures that I am focusing on, and I keep my rules and procedures very consistent. You want consistent routines where the kids can follow, okay? Now, and don't forget, you have children, and you're liable to have children in your class with varying degrees of abilities to follow these rules. And if you are consistent in your procedures, it will help your SPED population, because they rely on consistency, okay? They need to follow a roadmap throughout their day. And if you are consistent, in your routines, it's easier for them to follow. Okay? All right. So if you followed my video series in the past, I have went over the 4 components of time, in which they are instructional time, student time, personal time, and preparation time. So today I'm going to go over 2 of those components, which are student time and instructional time. Student time, as you probably already know, is the time between classes, okay? It is the time in which they have to go to their lockers, use their restroom, take care of their little personal concerns before class starts. Instructional time begins when they enter your classroom before the tardy bell. You need to make sure, as part of your discipline procedure, you need to make sure that you have something for the children to do from bell to bell. And make sure you try to make sure that your instruction is interesting and keeps their focus from bell to bell. This will take care of at least 75% of your discipline concerns right there. Keep the children busy. Do not allow gaps in your instruction, because when you allow gaps of time in your instruction where there's free moments for kids to misbehave, they're going to take that time and they're going to misbehave. Okay? So make sure your routines are consistent. Make sure you have enough instruction or things to do for the student from bell to bell, from tardy bell to dismissal bell. Okay? The next thing you should understand is you should say what you mean and mean what you say. That is part of your consistency. Don't open your mouth to say anything that you cannot back up. I've heard teachers say, if you don't keep quiet, I'm going to rip your tongue out. That is silly. Okay? Say what you mean and mean what you say. Anything that comes out of your mouth regarding a statement like that, you better be prepared to back it up, because they're going to be testing your boundaries. Okay? You are the boundary. Okay? You need to be firm and fair with your students. And when they test those boundaries, you are there to be firm and fair and redirect them in the right direction. Okay? Another thing you should do is choose your battles wisely. Okay? What do I mean by that? Well, let me give you an example. Student says you're up and you are explaining something about the lesson, whatever lesson it is. You're explaining the lesson, and then a student blurts out something that's a smart remark in relation to what you are saying. Okay? Choose your battles wisely, and this is how you do it. This is one of the ways you do it. You simply give them the stare. Everything stops in the classroom, and you're just looking at this person. While you're looking at this person, it gives you time to calm down. It also gives you time to reflect upon the fact that you are looking at a person whose brain is not fully developed. I don't mean that as a slight or a put down. I mean that as a fact. You should know that student brains, children's brains, and adult brains are wired differently. Their logic center and their center for abstract thought, called the prefrontal cortex, is not fully developed like yours. So they're prone to blurt out things. They're prone to be very impulsive. So you need to remember that when you are in the middle of instruction with your students and addressing your students. Do not yell at students. Do not vent at students by yelling at students, because a lot of these students, they're simply going to yell back at you, and then it escalates, and then you have lost control. And guess who's watching you lose control of your class? Your students. And so now your students have learned how to press your buttons to get you out of control. And let me tell you something, they will do that again, just for their amusement, just to see if they can do that again. And let me warn you, you are liable to be recorded as you lose your temper and your control. Don't yell at students. Try to remain positive as much as possible, and try to be relevant. Come down off Mount Olympus and tell them some things about your past in relation to what you are studying at the time. You know, you can relate to your childhood. You can say, well, we didn't learn like that when I was young. When I was young, we did this way and we did this that way. Don't give a long, drawn out explanation about your life, because you'll see them glaze over. They don't want to hear that. Just keep things light and simple and relevant. Learn to relate to your children. Be positive. Try to joke with them. I don't mean being silly, but when there is a time that you can relate to them, you can tell them a funny story that happened to you. Now you are starting to gain a relationship with your students, okay? You have become human, okay? And at the same time, say what you mean and mean what you say, okay? There are times when you can say a light joke, a lighthearted joke, and be a little funny, or give a funny anecdote to something that's going on, but you also quickly go back to the lesson. Students are experts at getting you off task. They're experts at that. They want to see if they can get you off task regarding the lesson. Please be aware of that. Get back to the lesson, relate to them, try to be relevant about each situation, and get back to the lesson, okay? Another discipline procedure is to change seats often if needed. What do I mean by that? A lot of teachers, they assign seats alphabetically. When the students first get into their classroom, they assign seats, they have in alphabetical order, so forth and so on. I don't prescribe to that. I am not criticizing these teachers, but that's something I don't prescribe to. Here's the reason. The reason is I allow my students to sit wherever they want, okay? And then I get all their attention. All their attention's on me. They're focusing on me, and I look at them very seriously and I say, you can sit wherever you want. But if I were you, if you're sitting next to your friends and your friends are prone to get you in trouble, you need to move right now. Half the time they'll move, and other half of the time they're good where they are. Here's what happens eventually, people. These students are going to indicate where they should be seated. How's that happen? Larry's going to talk to George, and he's going to keep talking to George until he gets my attention, and I'm going to have to separate Larry from George. June is going to talk to Jennifer, and they're going to go at it and play off each other until I separate June from Jennifer. It's not going to happen all in one day, but by the end of the first week of school, most of the kids are going to indicate where they should be seated by their own behavior. They're going to let me know where they should be seated. There are 5 locations in the classroom where I put the most distractive students. Front right, front left, back right, back left, and right in the middle. Okay? The 4 corners. Picture a die, and the number 5. Okay? That's the locations of my 5 most distractive students. And I position the students that are quiet and focused around them. Okay? These students normally ignore these distractive students. These students are called buffer students in my own lingo. I surround my most distractive students with my buffers. Okay? And so that also gives you a measure of control in your classroom. Your seating assignment and your seating arrangement can constitute at least 15% or prevent 6 to 15% of your discipline problems if you put them in the right locations, and they will determine where they should go. Okay? So, not only that, your class assignments will help you with your discipline strategies. What do I mean? I'll give you an example. Say you have a second period class that's just wonderful, but your 5th period class full of clowns. They won't let you teach. Okay? You simply stop what you're doing. You cannot do what you did in your second period as you did with your 5th period, because, and it can change per day. I mean, your 5th period, that could change next week. They'll be wonderful next week. But on this certain day, 5th period won't let you teach. So what you do is you stop what you're doing and you say, okay, we're going to take out our books. Here's our reading assignment for the day. Let's start on our reading assignment. You give them an alternative assignment from the other kids in your other class periods, because they have decided as a class to clown around, and you must address that. And so you give them an alternative assignment, an independent assignment, an independent practice assignment, where they are most likely quiet and they are focused on their own. They can't be in groups. They can't talk to each other. They can't act silly anymore. We're going to put brakes on this activity, and we're going to go into an alternative assignment. That stops a lot of your discipline problems right there. So what I'm saying, people, is you can control the discipline concerns in your class by the way you manage and handle your class. Okay? You have to be one step ahead of the students in your class. You're always planning, okay? Regarding your seat assignments, here's an example. Supposing that Larry has not been very focused in the classroom as far as his seat assignment is concerned, a lot of times you go home, or after that class has left, you're thinking, now Larry was kind of noisy today. I'm going to think about moving his seat for tomorrow. Go ahead and plan for that seat change for the next day. Okay? You're always making adjustments in your class assignments, in your seating assignments, to help you enhance your discipline. That takes care of a lot of your discipline problems right there. Okay, let's shift and move on to parents. Okay? Parent conferences. All right, here we go. Parent conferences don't have to be the bane of your existence. Okay? Here's why. When you contact parents, you want to contact parents early in the year. The earlier as possible, the better. You want to do it as early as possible. Why is that? Because parents are still hopeful in the beginning part of the year that their kid is going to have a good and successful year. They're still hopeful. The clothes are still new. The supplies are still new. They just came from Walmart and Target, and they just bought all this stuff for their kids, and they're hopeful for a new and brighter future for their kids. Okay, so nip these things in the bud immediately. Here's what I mean by that. If Jonathan has been off task, he didn't do anything seriously wrong, but he has not been on task, and he has not been focused fully in class, and you think that you need to address this with the parent right away, go ahead and contact the parent. Nip this in the bud early. So the parent is, most parents are most appreciative when you contact them early in the year. Okay? They appreciate the fact, most of them appreciate the fact that you have contacted them early in the year. Okay? And they have a chance to interact with their child before a discipline referral is sent on their child. Here's how you do it. The first thing that comes out of your mouth to a parent on the phone or type in the email, if you're using email communication, your first statement should be, Mrs. Jones, my name is Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so. I need your help. Okay? That puts the parent at ease, where they are in control. They're not on the defensive now when you're asking them for their help. Okay? Then you state the reason. You describe the situation in full detail. Mrs. Jones, we were working on a puzzle activity, and Jonathan decided to take all the puzzle pieces that they were working with in their group, and he would not share those pieces with the other members of his group so they can construct the puzzle and write their answers in response to the puzzle pieces as they were working on the puzzle. And the students got upset, and then he called another student an inappropriate word, and then you describe what he said. Okay? So Johnny, to me, is you always add a positive. Johnny has always been very nice, as far as I know, but he chose this moment to say something inappropriate. Can you help me with Jonathan? Can you talk to him regarding the appropriate use of language in class and working with others in a group assignment? Can you help me with that, Mrs. Jones? I really appreciate your help and your support and understanding with that. Always add a positive, describe the situation, and most importantly, ask for their help and guidance in that. Okay? Don't put the parent on the defensive. Do you know what Jonathan did? He did. Ask them for their help. Allow the parent to have some control in this situation. You want to work collaboratively with the parent. And when you ask them for your help in helping them educate their kid, you are setting the signal that you are actively working with them in a collaborative effort to educate their kid. It puts them at ease where they're now equals to you. Okay? So do that. Ask for their help and guidance. Okay? Should Larry know that you are contacting his parent? No. Try not to let the kid know that you're doing that, because in a lot of cases, the kid will go home and think up an alibi. He has all this time to think up an alibi, and he will poison the well. Okay? So try not to let the kid know that you are doing this. The last thing I have to tell you is, when you write up a referral, try to wait 24 hours before you issue a discipline referral on a student. Outside of the fact that the kids are fighting or somebody got stabbed or something like that, try to wait 24 hours and don't let the kid know that you're issuing a discipline referral. Here's the reason: because it allows you a chance to calm down. A lot of times when you come back the next day, you are able to think to yourself, it wasn't that important. I was kind of angry, but now I'm a little better. I'm not going to write a referral. Half the time you're going to write the referral, and half the time you're going to think, it's not that important. I'll address it another way. Wait 24 hours. Wait before and calm down before you write a discipline referral on a child. Do not ask an AP, an assistant principal, to come to your class to address your discipline. Because the moment you do so, you have given over your class to that assistant principal. The discipline in your class has now been given over to the assistant principal, and it will be extremely hard to regain the respect that should be afforded to you regarding the discipline in your class. Okay? Don't do that. Don't ask a principal to come speak to your class. You take care of your own discipline concerns. I've heard assistant principals ask us, the experienced principals will say this: you really want me to do this? Because the minute I do this, you're not going to have control over your class anymore. So do you really want me to go in there and talk to your kids? Do you really want me to do that? Don't do that. Avoid doing that. Okay? All right. So hopefully these are some things that you can think about regarding discipline. And so I thank you for this time. I thank you for your time, this time. Until next time, we'll be seeing you.